Okay, good morning then, everybody. We're going to get the January day. A couple of housekeeping points first. If you could please keep yourselves on mute. The reason why that's so important is because sometimes we get dogs in the background or children in the background, and that does make it very difficult for everybody to hear the speaker. So if you could please keep yourself on mute, we'd really appreciate it. Secondly, please feel free to ask any questions you like of me or any of today's speakers. If you use the chat box, which is at the bottom of your screen, and ask anything you like, and we'll endeavour to answer your questions. Typically, we tend to do so after the speaker has finished. That way they have a chance to present what they want to say, and then we can run through all of the questions. I'll probably read them out and get the speaker to answer them, unless I don't understand, in which case I'll just ask you to unmute and we can answer any of your questions directly. So this is another in the series of webinars that Perenta has put on for the sector, and I'm delighted to see so many of you here today. Of course, we're focusing on marketing and trying to market your setting as cost effectively as you possibly can. And I think in the trying times that we're all facing at the moment, that's probably never been more important. We all know how critical it is that we watch the pennies as we go through this difficult time. What we're hoping to do today is to show you how you can market your setting on a budget. And of course, remembering that, you know, every lead could lead to a potential new customer. And, you know, I don't need to tell you how much that potential customer can be to your business. Just before I introduce the speakers, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Alan Presland. I'm the CEO of Perenta. Perenta's been providing services to the sector for 21 or 2 years, I think, something like that. And shameless plug coming up, but I'm also the author of this book, Improving the Business of Childcare. Now, normally we would, oh, thank you, Dorothy. Lovely to see that. Thank you. Normally we would be delighted to send a copy out to everybody, but unfortunately Perenta towers are shut. So we can't do that, but we will offer everybody, if they'd like, a soft copy of the book. If you just put a note in the chat, and we'll send a soft copy of that book out to you. Some people have already been asking if the session today has been recorded, and the answer to that is yes. We will record this, and we'll send a copy of that recording out to everybody who's registered at the end of the session, along with the slides and notes from the webinar itself and from our speakers. Today, we've got 3 absolutely incredible speakers. I'm absolutely thrilled that the 3 ladies in question have offered to give up their time to support us and to support you and explain what they do. Firstly, we've got Adele James, who is the CEO of a digital marketing agency called Primera. Adele has been in the sector for about 20 years and provides a whole host of support services to lots of companies, including those in the childcare sector, and in fact, including Perenta. Next up, we've got Claire Cowie, who runs First Nurseries. Sorry, my notes have disappeared on me, just as I said that. Isn't that embarrassing? Yeah, First for Children Limited. Apologies, Claire. And then last but not least, we've got Deborah Barton, who runs Hornet Nurseries and has been doing so since 1990, I believe. So I'll introduce and talk more about those ladies as they come on board. But first of all, we've got Adele coming up. So just a bit more about Adele. As I said, she's got 20 years experience within the sector. She runs her own digital marketing agency. And she's going to talk to us today about the importance of virtual show rounds, about maximizing local online search, about the importance of content, and most importantly of all, how to track those leads which are coming in. One of the things that really scares me when I see people looking at marketing is they like to spend, but they don't track to find out what's happening with their marketing and find out how the investment they're making in their marketing is actually impacting on the business. So Adele will talk that through. So I'll stop talking because none of you want to hear me. You want to listen to the important ladies, and I'll hand straight over to Adele. Adele, all yours.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen. Would I be able to be the host, please, Alan?
All yours,
Good
Adele.
morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Just nod if you can see it, and hopefully you can. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Alan, for the introduction. Yes, I think it's important. I think it's such a difficult time for everybody in the sector. So we know money is tight, and so this is why we've kind of chosen this topic today, to try and see if we can help set you up for this year, to try and help market your settings so that you're still appealing to prospective parents and also still engaging with your existing parents. So started with looking at the first one, virtual walkthroughs. This term social distancing has become part of our daily vocabulary, and virtual walkthroughs is certainly an area where a lot of educational settings, including the earlier sector, has really capitalized on to still showcase all the hard work you guys put in to actually capture the rooms, how it's been laid out, the warmth that's been created, that environment that the parents would normally see when they do that physical walkthroughs or walkarounds. So using virtual walkthrough software is an area that you can really showcase that and really bring it to life when you wanting to show that to parents. Now, there's a lot of different software in the market. I've listed a few there. Some of these are free, and some of these are paid for services. And this might be an area that, even if budget is tight, that you might want to consider looking at a paid version, because some of the software even allows you to stand in a room, for example, your baby room, and a parent can turn around and look at it as a 360 view, almost like a virtual reality. And that might be something that you really can showcase. And some software allows you to zoom into a specific area, for example, a learning corner that you would normally potentially showcase to parents when you're showing them around. So that might be actually want to look at to see where you want to invest if you have any funds available. But also, once you've put this hard work in, make sure it's visible to parents, because a lot of people will do this work and potentially only put it onto the website. But there are other places where you can put this information where people can search for this in your local area. So there's lots of different places. For example, make sure it's on YouTube and then have that link on your website. For example, a lot of people will, and settings are registered on day nurseries. And there's a box you can tick on your, on day nurseries. I'm sorry, I think my internet is unstable. On day nurseries, there's a box you can tick on your listing to say that you've got a virtual tour available for parents. Make sure that box is ticked so that will come up in search when people are looking for that. And also, if you have it on your website, make sure it's on your homepage that prospective parents can easily see and find it. Don't make it difficult to find. On also the importance of, let me just make sure I've got that right one. Sorry, I've skipped one. So make sure parents can find you. So I've just said about the homepage and this virtual walkthrough, but also if you are in a front-facing area where people can walk past your setting, or you are potentially even hidden, there might be a hedge in front of you. There's lovely banners you can put up. It's not expensive. There's many places you can find, for example, 24 print line, or there's a Vista print. You can get a really massive banner done for even at 20, 30 pounds with your big signage on there, making sure that parents can find you and see you. If there's bushes obscuring it, trim the bushes back, make sure that people can really find you, but also utilize search engines. Search engines is what most people nowadays will look for. Are you visible on Google, Bing, Yahoo search, for all the different search engines? Make sure, and I'll go through that a little bit more in detail in a minute, of how you can make sure that you are visible and things you can do to improve your search rankings on that. A lot of local authorities will also list settings in their local area. Make sure that you look at your local authorities, look what listings is available for you, and make sure your settings available and actually visible to people searching for that. But also day nurseries. I know I'm plugging day nursery, by the way. We've got no affiliation to day nursery, but a lot of settings are on that. And I know a lot of parents are searching on day nursery. So that is something to potentially look at. I don't know the cost of that. And I know sometimes there's a free listing available as well, but just explore that option a bit more. And then I cannot stress the importance of Google My Business. Google My Business is something that you can really help drive your business forward, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail as well. So the important brand consistency, if you use puffins today, only because I really like the logo, it's really bright, really colorful, it really stands out. But I don't know if any of you've heard, but a lot of people will say sometimes people have to see something 3, 4, 5, 6 times before they actually it will resonate with them. And that is really important in everything we do nowadays. So for example, a prospective parent go onto your website, they see your logo, then they click on the registration form. That email they get, does it have your logo on it? Does it have your branding on it? Will they remember it? Then you send them a little logo, a leaflet out to say, this is all about your setting. Does that leaflet or that prospectus you've just sent out to that parent, does it have your logo on there? When you do your virtual walkthrough, make sure you zoom into your logo. All that time, every time people see it, that will resonate with them. So when you're sending an email out, is your logo on your email signature? Have you got it on your invoices? Have you got it on your menus, your policies on your website? When you're sending out registration paperwork to your parents, is your logo on that? All those different things to think about when you're wanting to capture your brand and having consistency that will resonate with parent and prospective parents as well. So a little bit more on search engines and how you can help improve your visibility on that. So there's 2 different kinds of ways you can appear on a search engine. You can have an organic search, which means it's for example, I've just searched for nurseries in Romford, for example, and you can see, for example, New Beginnings has appeared. And they've actually got a little map against them, and that's all driven by Google My Business, and I'll explain that in a bit more detail in a minute. And then you've got paid search. A lot of settings, certainly where there's a lot of nurseries in your local area, so you've got a lot of competition, will choose to have a paid ad run in that local area. And it doesn't have to be expensive because you don't have a lot of competition, certainly in the earlier sector, bidding for those keywords that you've done an advert. And if you have a really good provider, they can offer you that as well. It is not expensive to run, but it can make you really stand out. If you, for example, in London, there's a lot of settings in a concentrated area, so you might have a lot of competition to fill those voids. So that's something potentially you can look at. And here we come on Google My Business. Google My Business offers you an opportunity to add videos, photographs about your setting. You can even include your link to your walkthrough in there, but more so, it adds your reviews. Reviews is something that is so important for prospective parents to see, but even existing parents, because if your rating goes down, they might get concerned. So it's important that you showcase your reviews and also push your reviews. So that's something to look at. But you can also see on Google My Business, your searches will start appearing as well as organic, but also showcase your setting in a much more enhanced way. And that's why Google My Business is such an important aspect of, when you're looking at your search engine and how you can optimize your site. How important is content on your website? Now, a lot of you and most of you will have a website, but when last was that website up to date or updated? And it's easy to update content because as part of your setting and offset criteria, you have to have that engagement with parents. Utilizing that content you already create and adding it to your website can add new content to that, which can help you increase your search engine optimization. It can also help engage with existing parents, but also before Ofsted comes out to actually inspect your setting, the first place they will go and look at your site is to see what information you have for your parents on your site. Also for prospective parents, are you capturing information about British values? You already live and breathe that in your setting. Why not have it on your website as a page? Because it's rich content that can help you drive your settings and your organic search rankings. Things about your policies, your newsletters, your menus, any activities you have. You can create a parent area if you don't want to showcase, for example, photographs of children within your setting. You can have that in a separate section that parents have to log in, and obviously that is approved and parents have given permission, for example, information that you share on your website. But there are lots and lots of generic content that you can share that can really stand out against your competitors. For example, your setting, you can say every Monday you've got, I don't know, a specialist coming into your setting, and that can really drive engagement. Showcase your website is almost like a window, your shop front window that showcases everything that you do on a daily basis, but it gives you an opportunity to share that information with people that can't come into your setting and see it for themselves. So that's something to really consider of how you can help and look at the content on your website. Alan mentioned earlier about the importance of tracking your leads, and I can't stress that enough. Marketing is something that in one area will work and in another area it won't work. But unless you track where you are successful, for example, if you your website is driving a lot more traffic, and you can have really good software that can track your leads coming through from your website, for example, then you can see actually your website is improving. You've got a lot more form submissions on your website. People have registered. You've got a waiting list happening. But where all those are coming from, for example, you've gone to a little local show. You've done to, I don't know, maybe a mum and baby group, and you've been a speaker for that. Any referrals you get from that, track where it's coming from. So when you're planning your activities for the following year or for this year coming, what has worked in the past, and spend your energy and time on those activities, so you don't go round and round and round in circles to try and ascertain what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you in the past. If you're not very tech savvy, Google Analytics can be quite daunting, and that can help as well to see where your traffic is coming from. For example, like I mentioned earlier, Day Nurseries is a really good listing, and from there a lot of settings gets traffic. But unless you know that's working for you, you won't know. You would be able to find that information out from Google Analytics to shows you from if it's a referral site or if it's an organic site, or if you have running paid advertising, see what's working for you or not. But if you have a good provider, they would be able to produce a report for you like this that will show you what website stats you have, how many form submissions you've got, how many you've actually had on click to call from your website. So when your phone's ringing, where is that lead coming from? But don't be afraid as well to ask the person calling, because word of mouth might be your biggest attribute for your setting. Ask people, where did you hear about us? And make a note of that, because then potentially you can focus your energy on that specific medium that's worked. But also your website provider should be able to provide you with information, and they offer different services as well. But if you can see at the bottom there, you can see, for example, this website, this is a childcare website, has had 18,000 visits, and that's really good. And this is over in 1 quarter of a period. But you can also see the difference between organic search that's been direct, so people has typed in their URL into their website, or has come from a social platform. So, for example, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So that's the social channels, and also referrals. For example, a local authority site, or I mentioned Day Nurseries earlier. Free marketing resources. There's many, like I said earlier, there's free virtual software that you can use if you wanted to, but also free survey software. Don't be afraid to ask parents for feedback, because they are going to help you drive improvement. And that is so important, getting that feedback to help you. There's free survey software. I think there's Typeform, there's SurveyMonkey, this has got a free version. So have a look as well how you can capture that information from your parents, because their voice is what other parents are going to see when they walk into your setting. So listen to them and help drive your business forward. And then don't underestimate the importance of social media. Like I said, be careful with the content you post on your Facebook, but there's a lot of generic content you can post on your social channels that will create that engagement with prospective parents, but also keep your existing parents engaged. So with Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter, even if it's a video of your staff, what you're doing, it shows the spirit within your setting. It's so difficult to see now because people can't visibly see it, but using those channels to really bring your whole social channel and your environment within your setting to life. If you have a really good website supplier, or like I said, nursery management software supplier, they will be able to support you as well to be able to help you access resources that can help you drive your business forward. So really reach out to those suppliers and see how they can help you. The other thing as well that's worked really well for a lot of settings is creating a leaflet that they've used as door drops. Even having it on local billboards, or on a lot of Facebook groups nowadays within local communities will have a Facebook group. On there you can post, for example, if you're running a voucher scheme, make sure parents are aware of that, make sure that people can access that information, but also having that leaflet in your doctor's surgery or your dentist, local libraries, for example. Make sure that you are visible within your local community, and all those things doesn't cost a lot of money. And like I said earlier about your website provider, make sure, see what package you're already paying for. If you're paying for different packages, you might be doing it yourself, and then look at that content you can enrich. But if you have a website provider who's providing a service for you, make sure that you, if you're already paying for updates, send them information, let them update your website for you, let them make it good. All this presentation will be shared out with everybody after the webinar, so that you won't have to write like madness, but you'll be able to get access to this. Yeah, that is me. And I hope you've got any questions. I'm happy to answer that.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Adele. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. We've got a few questions which have come in. So the first one, I think I already know the answer quite clearly, but I'll ask it anyway. The question is, do you think it's better to have children in your setting included in your virtual tour or your virtual walkthrough to give parents the full feeling of your setting? Or do you think you should do it when the setting's empty and it might look a little bare? Of course, it'll be colourful, but it doesn't really capture the reality of the setting.
I think a good mix will be really good. So children will bring an environment to life, but also make sure that you obviously have that authority and the parents have signed off that you can utilize those images of the children within your setting. But sometimes as well, it will really showcase an area that you can really capture, maybe even the children isn't in it. So I think a good mix with that has really can really create a good standout. So my opinion would be to be a mix of the two.
Okay, thank you. The next question is really interesting and really, really relevant. So somebody has asked, what happens when a negative review is placed on Google Reviews or any other such site? Can they remove such a review if it's from, shall we say, a difficult parent?
So Google's actually quite fair with businesses. We know that you're going to get some people who isn't going to be kind. And if you can put a good case forward, a lot of the time they will remove that. If you can prove, for example, the person has said something that made a false allegation, if you can prove that, they will remove that review. So they are quite good like that. And also, sometimes if it's a parent that you still have a relationship with, but you can ask them to remove that and they have the authority to remove it as well. So potentially reaching out to those people to see if you can remove it. But Google, I know from a lot of people we work with, they have removed reviews that's been proven unfounded. So make sure that you look at that as well as an option.
Okay, I just want to pick up on that one a little bit further, Adele, because, you know, we all have a different interpretation of things in life and people have different views on the same subject. So sometimes they may not be wrong. So do you think it's worth people trying to debate reviews and answering them, or would you suggest just to sort of leave it be and not draw attention to it?
I think it's important, excuse me, I think it's important to respond to reviews. But I wouldn't get into a argument on a review site. I would say, thank you for is it possible for us to contact you? The people are looking that if someone has given you feedback and it might not be what you want to see, it's like Alan said, sometimes it might be a feedback that potentially is true. But if someone else has seen that you're actually taking that information and you're looking at that and dealing with that problem, then that's also a positive response, because people think you're not just trying to hide information or trying to walk away from that and not even respond to that. That also can help by addressing some of the issues on that side to say, thank you for this. Or even if you have already dealt with that issue, to say, thank you for bringing this to our attention. This is what we put in place. These are the new policies, for example, that now covers this issue that you've raised. Okay. So you, in a way, you counter the argument by responding to it in a positive way.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next question is talking about blogs on websites. And the question is, how important is it to update your blog? Should they do it frequently? And if so, how frequently?
So we try and encourage settings to update it. I know you guys are busy, at least twice a month, if possible. And it doesn't have to be an entire lengthy 1,000-word blog post. It could just be about the activities that you've run in that setting in the week, like a conversation you would have had with a parent, updating them what's happened in your setting, or something new that's happened, or you've chosen a new curriculum path, or anything that's changed in your setting. It could just be a daily little feed you want to do, or it could be a more comprehensive feed, but it doesn't have to be, like I say, 1,000 words. It could just be almost as a conversation you're going to have with your parents and updating them what you're doing in your setting.
Okay, lovely. Next question from Bob, and he's asking about Yell. He's asking, is it still effective to advertise on Yell? That's one I haven't heard of for a long, long time. What's your view, Adele?
I haven't, and I know with Yell as well, you have to pay for a lot of the services. So I think look where your parents are searching for. If you think Yell in your area is working, again, you can probably get that stats from Yell to see what people are searching for. If it's a provider that will be able to share that stats with you, for example, if they're saying people are searching for early years providers, look at what other places, for example, day nurseries, is a captive audience. Make sure that you're spending, if you're having to spend for any listings on any sites, that it actually is going to be worth your while and not just randomly trying to get on many places as possible.
Okay, good. We're running out of questions, Adele, but I've got one. So of all the things you've talked about today, what would you say is the most important thing for people to focus on when they're, everybody's got a limited budget, particularly in this day and age. What's the one most important thing people should focus on to draw attention to their setting?
Your website. So look at the content on the website that will help push your search engine high up in the rankings. So any really good content, make sure your website's up to date, because that's where most people are going to search for you and are going to be able to find you without being on any other listing. On search engines is where parents are going to go. Like I said there, I typed in settings in, I don't know, Kent or Romford I selected, and you could see all the nursery that comes up from that. That's where I would say is, if you haven't got any budget, spend your time wisely on your website, work with any provider that you are working with, and make sure that you can capture every element of your setting within that. Images speaks, really, really volumes within your setting, can really capture some of your creativity within your setting and help parents see what you're trying to do in the development of their children.
Brilliant. Okay, Adele, thank you so much. So I think we'll wrap up your section now. Thank you once again. We don't want to make this all a shameless plug, but I think it is fair to say that Perenta does offer website services. So Samantha Davey, I can see on it. Sam, can you just wave at everybody for me? So Sam Davey runs our website services. And if anybody just wants a quote or anything, or even just to reach out and ask some questions, we'd be delighted to to offer a Q&A session. Sam would be happy to answer any questions. There's no cost for that. So please reach out to her at any point. It's samantha.davey@perenta.com. And as I said, anything at all, no cost. We'll just answer any questions you may have.
Sam, I know, Alan, I know Sam's also doing free website reviews for a lot of settings. So that'd be something as well, if you're looking at a free website review to see how your nursery website is actually performing. Including speed and stuff like that. I know Sam's report includes that, so that might be something as well she would like to consider.
Brilliant. Okay, good. All right, thank you, Adele. Thank you so much. We're going to move on, and we've now got Claire Cowie, who is going to talk to us about what works and doesn't work so well, her quick fixes and the barriers she's faced in needing to improve her online presence. So Claire is the Managing Director of First for Children Limited. She's worked in the early years sector for over 20 years. And she operates a nursery preschool in the southeast, in Bromley, I think, which very much focuses on high quality, affordable childcare. So let's welcome Claire. I can't see you, Claire, but I'm sure you're there somewhere. Take yourself off mute, and all yours. Can't see Claire. There she is. Claire, you need to take yourself off mute. I might be able to do it for you, actually. I can find you. There we go.
Right, everybody, can you hear me now? Is that working well? Okay, thank you. Right, okay, I'm just going to get up the slideshow. Won't keep you all a moment. Hi, thanks for your patience. Hello?
We can hear you, Claire. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, sorry, I thought I'd lost you then.
No, yeah, we're all here listening.
Okay. So as you can see, I'm not very technical. So setting up the website for me was a big step, to take. The preschool mainly sort of always relied on, recommendations and return customers. Then obviously there was a lot of new competition in the area. And we thought how we could advertise more and what could bring, new business, to the setting. So recently, like we're in the last year, we've set up a website for the preschool, which has worked really well, actually. What I'd like to share today is just some of the things what help the website come together and what is working well. So if I could just sort of run over some of those things. So the website has definitely increased occupancy. This has worked by sort of us now having, you know, a simple online, you know, application form. So we've had right, okay, here we go. So the website has increased occupancy levels because we've got a simple sort of online application form. So the parents can basically access this at any time. So what happens is they'll fill the form in online. It will come directly through to the email address, to the secure email address, and then we'll be able to sort of access that straight away. So we've had a lot of interest, not just people who live locally, but the website, we're definitely sort of, you know, we've got a lot of new business, you know, through the website, and it's quick and easy for parents without making a phone call or requesting an application form. You can just go ahead and fill the application form online. So it's made it a lot easier and straightforward. Some of the things that have worked well with the current sort of COVID situation is the website notice board. We've used the notice board on the website, you know, for parents to access, you know, government updates, you know, with regards to the COVID crisis, or to inform parents, you know, if we've had to make any changes to the operating hours throughout this period. So that is something that I feel has worked really well with the parents. It's reduced the amount of phone calls, the amount of time staff are doing admin. You know, we've just been able to update that. As I've said before, I'm not very technical, and I'd put off the website for a long time because I kept on thinking it was going to be very time consuming. However, one day I thought, you know, a lot of new competition, a lot of maintained provision in schools opened in the area. And I thought we need to sort of have more of a presence in the community, you know, not just completely solely relying on sort of recommendations and our retained customers. You know, we had to put ourselves out there. Sorry, I don't know what's happened there, actually. I think I've had... can you all still hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Claire. Unfortunately, we couldn't see the slides, so Gail's just loading them up for you, and she'll talk them through. So just tell her which slide number you need.
Okay, yes, I think we've had a bit of a power cut. So if it's the first slide, Alan, please.
Just bear with us a second, everybody, please.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
You should be able to see it as well, Claire. And if you just ask Gail...
Thank you very much, Gail. Yeah, so it was a lot easier, you know, than what I imagined, you know, setting up the website. It come together really easy, you know, and as I've said before, we quickly started to receive sort of, you know, applications. Yes, sorry, Gail, could you go on to the next slide for me, please? Yeah, one of the important things I thought was sort of going for a sort of basic layout, you know, that what seemed to work really well. You know, something easy for sort of parents to navigate, you know, so they could easily access, you know, the content that they were looking for. I felt that worked really well. So I went for sort of 6 boxes that I thought were the most important things that parents would actually just, you know, click on and access. So a simple layout is something that, you know, I definitely sort of recommend. And I know Sam from Perenta helped me with that. And I also got lots of different ideas and templates to look at. So yeah, I got lots of support sort of with setting up the website. The information also on the website can be changed, you know, to other languages, which is really useful if you've got sort of, you know, families with, you know, a large number of families with English as an additional language. So that is also, you know, an additional thing that is on the website that I think works really well. The The gallery on the website is also nice for parents to look at photographs of, you know, the activities, you know, the children that are participating in the setting. You know, parents are really keen to see what their children are doing. Obviously, we've created a password, you know, for the parents to access the gallery. But that's something that the parents really enjoy. And we've had a lot of positive feedback with regards to the gallery. And, you know, just we update that regularly. Next slide, Gail, please. Yeah, so one of the important things, because we've had a lot of closures at the moment, and there was a lot of sort of home learning taking place with the, you know, with the COVID situation. One of the favourite things with the parents is obviously we added a home learning link, you know, for the parents, so we could put a lot of links on there. We had a booklet, you know, to about COVID, so the parents could read that with their children. So you know, children understood why, you know, people are wearing masks. And so, you know, parents were really grateful for some of the content, you know, that we'd put on the home learning link. Also, it was useful because staff weren't making learning packs for children, which are new. Some other settings have put some learning packs together. We could just have all our home learning, you know, in one place. And the majority of parents had access to the internet to, you know, to access, you know, the learning link. It had, you know, for different age groups of children. So the parents could just, you know, click on their age group, and then they could actually look through the content and see, you know, what they thought was relevant or what they thought was useful, you know, to keep the children entertained and obviously educated through the home learning link. So that was really useful. So, you know, I'd really recommend that. And, you know, we've utilised that recently, you know, given the current sort of situation. Yeah, I suppose the main thing is, you know, having the website as being, you know, cost effective really, because when we're not photocopying, you know, application forms, terms and conditions, you know, everything is there, you know, in one place for the parents to just access, to print off, to return to the setting. It's saving on staff time, you know, taking phone calls, because there's a link where parents can just, you know, send a message or contact us via the website. So yeah, so that's working really well. Yeah, so as I said, everything being in one place is really important. Access to the policies, you know, we can make the changes easily, we can update the notice board. So yeah, it's, you know, it's worked really well. Can we go on to the next slide? Thank you, Gail. Yeah, I mean, the concerns I had, obviously, as I've said before, you know, we are a community preschool, you know, totally relying on recommendations. So getting up the website was, was really good. I was quite excited when it all come together. And for the support we got from Gail from Perenta, she let me look at different templates, and as I say, it's working really well. Yeah, some of my main concerns were just around sort of GDPR and, how we have to be compliant now and putting photographs on the website. This is something that, myself, I'm still quite, cautious. And, I was listening to sort of Adele earlier as well. I mean, we have got photographs on the website for parents to see, but one of the things I've done is made that sort of password controlled for the parents to, access. And I change that regularly as children leave the setting. So that would be the main thing, that I was concerned about, and, for people to be thinking about, to ensure if you're putting photographs on the website, to just make sure, you've got the consent and you're sort of GDPR compliant. Yeah, one of the other things which I come across when I was setting up the website is obviously I used a laptop. when I was initially designing the website. So just to be mindful that, you know, a lot of parents now are using, you know, smaller, you know, tablets or their mobile phone. So if you're setting up the website, or to, you know, to check your website, you know, on a laptop and on a mobile phone, just to see, you know, if it's fully responsive, and, you know, how it looks on a laptop to how it looks on a phone, you know, how people are viewing it. Because at one point I was using the laptop a lot, and then when I went, you know, parents were asking me questions, I realized they were using their phone, and it did look sort of different, you know, the layout. So just be familiar with, you know, the different layouts, you know, because you might want to make some changes. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's still early days. We've had the website for probably a year. I'm still working on improving things all the time. You know, we still, again, you know, need to sort of further increase, you know, our own preschools online presence with sort of, you know, YouTube, Facebook. So this is just the start for me of sort of, you know, working, you know, with Sam from Perenta and putting a website together. But, you know, I would really highly recommend it. You know, it has been quite cost effective, and it's worked really well. So thank you.
That's brilliant, Claire. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for sharing your experience of working with websites and what has happened to you. So we've got a couple of questions coming in. I say that, and somebody asked me another one, and my screen moved. Bear with me, I scroll back down. So the first one is from Alexis, and she's really referring to the, you said you put a parent questionnaire on your website, and she's asking how you use that information.
Okay, so what we do is there's a parent questionnaire, then that comes through direct to our email, and then we sort of just put that together, and then we just share that with the staff and Ofsted, really, and share that with the parents what the results of the questionnaire is. So it's just useful to have it on there rather than giving paper copies. You know, again, it was just a way to get feedback from parents.
Okay, good, thanks. And Alexis also asks if you have someone who manages your website on a day-to-day basis. Myself, if I've opted for, because as I said again, you know, I'm not very technical. I've opted for somebody, you know, to actually host the website. So I do like a monthly update. However, they've been really helpful, and, you know, with regards to the COVID crisis, they've enabled me to just, you know, change it, you know, any update on an ongoing basis at the moment. But generally, I'll have like a monthly upload, so I will generally make changes on a monthly basis. That is a package that's worked well for me, and I'm, you know, reviewing all the time. But obviously, there's various packages, you know, out there available. Okay, good, thanks. So Jane's asked a question about passwords and the frequency that you change your passwords. I think you said once a month, but I think the question Jane is asking is, how do you know that ex-parents aren't accessing your more secure areas? I'm sure that's a topic that a number of people would be concerned about. So what's your view on that, Claire?
Yeah, well, all the parents sign, you know, I've got quite a detailed, you know, disclaimer when the children join to say we've got the website, and then the photographs will be removed if the parent requests when the child leaves. So it's about having that detailed, you know, disclaimer, you know, in place, you know, before you actually put that gallery, you know, up on your screen, and looking at what the, you know, the permission is, what you've got from parents. So then that, you know, so then the password doesn't need to be changed, you know, a lot, because obviously we've got, you know, the disclaimer, and some parents won't want their children's, you know, pictured on there on the website. So you just need to make sure that, you know, you're carefully, you know, assessing that, and when you children are joining, you make sure you've got that agreement, you know, between yourself and the parent. Okay,
fine. So there's another question come in, Claire. It's sort of indirect to what you've been talking about. I'm sure everybody will be interested in your view and everybody else's view. And so Belinda is saying that she's moved away from having a branded uniform, and she's interested to see what everybody else's view, and if that will affect her marketing. What's your view on that, Claire?
Yeah, well, I've recently brought in a uniform, and I think the uniform works really well. However, I've made it optional, for parents with regards to whether they want to purchase the uniform. But I'd say 80% of the parents have purchased, the uniform for the set, and I personally believe it does, help with marketing. However, I think it's practical as well. So just not from a marketing point of view. I think it's practical, and as long as you're giving parents the option, and parents don't feel, my personal view, is pressured, into purchasing something that they might be able to afford.
Yeah, I completely understand. And does staff wear a uniform, a branded uniform in your setting?
Staff actually don't wear a branded uniform at present. That's something staff are asking for fleeces, but that's something I haven't got round to yet. So that is something on my action plan as well. So.
Okay, that's really interesting. If I may, I'd just like to go off topic slightly and just talk about that because I refer to a really interesting story in my book about branded uniforms. And I'm going to take you back 18 or 20 odd years. And Perenta at the time was based on a really posh area of Kent. And we were on a really nice, not industrial, like a business estate. And all along a sudden, one day, a really high-end nursery came up and they took over this beautiful building. It was a big chain. And, everything was perfect as you would imagine the big chains come in. It was brand new. Everything was sparkly. Everything was wonderful. And all the staff had these bright yellow uniforms with the name of the nursery written on the back. And it was really, as I said, I can't reiterate how high end it was. It was really, really smart. But they made some really basic mistakes. So what happened was everybody at lunchtime would run down to the sandwich shop and to Asda and all the rest of it. And the staff from this nursery would do exactly the same. Now, staff uniforms, in my view, when your staff look smart, are absolutely amazing marketing. But you need to make sure your staff look smart, because what was happening is these staff would run down to Asda or the sandwich shop, having just fed the children. So usually they were covered in baked beans or the equivalent. Quite often they were smoking as they were walking down. And if you're into smoking or not, that's your choice. But when you're under somebody else's brand, it looked terrible. It looked utterly awful. Long story short, but that chain of nurseries actually closed about 3 or 4 years later. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with this branding issue that I'm referring to, but I think it's really, really important. If your staff are going out at lunchtime in your branded clothing, then they do need to look the part. Okay, I think that's it. I think we've answered. Oh, one last question was, does Perenta offer a website-only option if we already own our domain name? Yes, we do. We're happy to take over that and work with you. And as we've said earlier on, we're happy to do a full free review if anybody wants that undertaken. So Claire, we're going to say thank you so much to you for your time. Thank you for, thanks for taking the time to create the slides and for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. We're going to take a 5-minute break, everybody, because I'm sure most of us need to use the loo. So we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll start again just before the hour, if that's okay. Thanks, everybody. See you in a couple of minutes. Okay, everybody, we'll get started again. Thank you so much for joining us again now. Right, so I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Deborah Barton from Hornet Nurseries to our session today. I've known Deborah for about 20 years, although we have lost contact for about 15 of them, I'm really embarrassed to say. And Deborah and Hornet Nurseries are actually one of Perenta's oldest customers. So Hornet Nurseries is a chain of 3 settings. Deb has a BSc honours degree and a PGCE, and she's really passionate and hands-on providing the children with fun weekly Zumba sessions. She's also a qualified Zumba teacher. Much more importantly, she's going to talk to us today about how you can make your website a hub for everything you do, including getting the most out of your social media posts and video content. So Deborah, all yours. Thank you.
Hi there, everybody. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. No. Yeah. Sam can hear me. Yeah, can you all hear me? I need some action, folks. You might be going to sleep now. I've got to wake you up. My plan was to have some music, but I decided maybe I shouldn't in case there were any issues with licensing, although I have a license. So, yeah, glad to see some of you have had a drink, been off your chairs, had a little walk, had a bit of sugar. Cassie, I can see you're still eating your little bit of sugar there. Good on you. I didn't dare in case I started coughing. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you about creating your brand and marketing in times when times are tough. So if I take you back 30 years, 31 years in fact, I was very passionate about childcare, set up my first site without a clue, and suddenly realised just how difficult that was going to be. So without filling you in to everything, basically, it was a tiny little village. I was down a lane where there was no passing traffic. It was financial suicide, and I'd given up my teaching job. So put all my eggs in one basket, and I had to learn quickly how to market my business. Things were different then. There wasn't the internet and so on that there is now. But basically, whatever there was that I could do, I had to do it to establish myself. And it took a while, but we got there in the end. What we've all found ourselves in this pandemic potentially is that same scenario where all of a sudden a very successful, well-established business, and you know, hopefully that's all of you, but you're suddenly in that position where you've got to fight for that business again, because all of a sudden, not only have you lost at the end of summer a whole cohort of children, but you've also lost children, haven't you, by jobs, parents' situations, parents' confidence even as well. So there were all sorts of reasons why we've all been thrown into that similar position this summer. And so it's meant that we've had to look once again, and I've had to look very heavily at how we market. And, you know, I'm pleased to tell you that what we've achieved now means that we're back where we were 12 months ago and you know, recouped all the losses, but I can assure you we had plenty of them. So I want to talk to you about being that brand that everybody thinks, okay, you know, I need a nursery, I need a drink, I need a can of Coke, I need a nursery, I need Hornet. That's how I see it. So I'm going to just screen share, hopefully keep you awake, and talk you through a few ideas that I have to help you achieve brand awareness. So just bear with me a second. I hate this bit, sorry everybody, but let's hope it all works and goes to plan. So here we are. Okay, so I'm going to need you to do something silly on the screen, pull a face or something if you get this. Has everybody got something on their screen? I'm going to ask, I can see Claire at the moment. Claire, can you give me a wave, Claire? Because I can see you on the side of my, yeah, you've got, okay, fab. Fabulous, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start my screen now, my slideshow. Here goes. Yeah, okay, so childcare is a unique market. I think we all feel a bit uncomfortable with the ideas of, for instance, discounting childcare. It's not really the done thing, I don't think. You don't, you know, buy one, get one free, do you, in childcare? So it is a unique market. And when I was in the first situation, you know, 31 years ago, I went to a business advisor that was offered to me free by a service called Business Link that the government used to offer. And he said, you know, really think about this. Is anybody going to come to you unless they're recommended by somebody? And obviously when you start, who are you going to be recommended by? Because you've got no customers. So it is very difficult to establish that, and we need to be aware. So this is just what I was thinking of when I was thinking about the whole idea of my talk to you, is you've got to be a bit of a spy, you know, think about, okay, this is not just take out an advert. You could throw money into advertising, but not get anywhere. So you've got to be very clever with your brand, and of course, making your website then drive your traffic forwards. So just have a think about this, okay? We've been in the pandemic. We've all spent a lot of time, haven't we? Watching Netflix, Prime Video, yeah, you know, yeah, every night. What do? You watch what's on, you know, you text your friends, oh, you know, what have you seen that's good? Because I've run out. I've already watched the whole 6 series of Outlander. I need something else. So, yeah, Netflix. it's a good analogy though, isn't it? Because when you want to watch something new, what do? You ask somebody, don't you? Think, right, first of all, is it free? Okay, if it's not free, can I afford it? Yeah. Is it going to be my thing? Am I going to enjoy this particular series? Who do I know that might give me some tips? Now, isn't that the same with children? You're going to think about all those things, aren't you? You're going to think about, well, can I afford childcare, first of all? Because if I can't, there's no point. Or maybe I'll get some funding, so that's fine. Then you'll think about, well, you know, am I going to be happy with it? Is it going to entertain my child? Is it going to teach them things I want them to learn? Is it going to fill in those gaps where they're not seeing people socially? Who do I know that takes them there? Do I know anybody that takes them? Yeah, okay, so it's the same principle, isn't it, as we use for Netflix. So the magic formula, this is it. Are you ready? Are you sat watching? Okay, it's not that magic at all. It's this. It really is this. If you make children the heart of everything you do, you will succeed. Okay, so I'm just going to turn my sheets here because I'm going to forget something, because I'm one of these people that makes these screens and then I write loads of notes, so I don't want to miss anything out. Let me give you a few little interesting anecdotes. One of our parents a couple of weeks ago said Arthur was in bed and she saw her little boy and he had his hand and he was doing this. And she said, "What are you doing, Arthur?" He says, "I'm just texting Duncan nights." So Duncan is, you know, one of our preschool room leaders, and he was texting him nights. Now, that's just amazing. That shows how closely bonded he is and how secure he is in our setting. We had another little one who Mum told us she cries on a Saturday and Sunday because she can't go to nursery. Now, you hopefully have those children too. But, you know, that is the magic about childcare, that actually by making sure that these children are so happy and get so much out of your setting, are so secure, that they will actually do a lot of the work for you. Marketing becomes easy when your children feel like that. It really does, trust me. Yeah, but sometimes I'll go into nursery and think, "Debs, can I come and play at your house?" You know, it's so sweet, but they're happy and they communicate that to the parents, and then the parents talk. So get them talking, get the children talking, get the parents talking, get the grandparents talking about you. It will really build your brand. Be that go-to name. You know, you need nursery, oh, Hornet. Everybody needs to talk about you, and it will make life so much easier. Think about this though, to engage people. And one of the reasons I put music on at first was because I wanted to engage you, because to engage your customers, to talk about you more, think about stimulating their senses a little bit more. Think about musical engagement. You know, what can you do? Can you invite them into the nursery to experience something? Can you do some sort of Zoom video thing with the children and story times, singing times? Can you do that? We did at Christmas, we asked parents to donate any old Christmas trees, Christmas lights, and we created at each nursery a winter wonderland. It was absolutely amazing. The whole of our outdoor areas became filled with sleighs, reindeers, baubles, lights, you name it. There were more lights than in Blackpool Illuminations. And then it meant that they could come with their children, pick up their children at the end of the day and do a tour. So they could experience something that had that visual engagement and was something to really remember, something special. So do those things that really, you know, engage the parents, engage the children, that gets them talking. Talking points. Okay, so I'm going to stand up so you can see that. Okay, can you see what I'm wearing today? So this is another way that I encourage talking points. Think about how you're going to engage with the children. I always engage with them, and I try to make sure that I'm wearing something that they'll talk about. What animals are on there? Or it might be, what have I got on today? Oh yeah, no, I've just got leaves on my ears. I try in all sorts of ways to make sure that I personally engage with my customers. I know my team do, but I'm not working hands-on with the children. So think about, if you're not hands-on with the children, how can you make sure you engage with them? And then you have some sort of conversation that you can then relay to those parents. And so you keep this almost a 360 sort of communication going, and you create a buzz. So that's what I want you to do, create that buzz somehow. Okay. Marketing in childcare does not need to be expensive. And I just want you to think about the word value, because I think by adding value, you can do this very economically. You know, it's not something you should be spending lots of money on necessarily, but you can do it in a very clever way. If you have a look at the photograph, that's one of my preschool room practitioners, and she is teaching yoga. And so we decided that parents were obviously feeling quite stressed. Children were stressed coming back from the pandemic. So one of the things we did to add value was we trained up all our preschool room staff to teach yoga, and they absolutely love it. The children adore meditating. We like them meditating too sometimes, but no, seriously, they adore it. They have mantras that they say, things like kind words, kind heart, and that has gone down so well with parents. They can share little videos at home with them, do them at home. And it's about, you know, mindfulness at a time when everybody's feeling really stressed. So that's one way we've added value. Parents have been very stressed, we've found, in terms of wanting to know, what are we doing? Are we open? Are we closed? What do we do about this? How do we make the nursery safe, COVID safe, etc.? What I've found is that if we can alleviate parents' stress, the relief that they feel works by them then sharing that relief and talking to other people about it. We've even picked up customers through the lockdown because of the way we've handled the whole situation. So don't underestimate how important it is to have empathy with your parents and support them as much as you can. We've also done things like support charity, local charities. So we had collections for Women's Aid. Obviously, Women's Aid have had a very difficult time. So we're working together with parents. So what we're trying to do is to, even though they can't come in, try to have attempts to work together for the common good. And it builds a sense of team, and it really helps. We've also been very, very flexible, and this might sound a bit scary to you. We even gave free places to parents. So where parents had perhaps lost their jobs, were looking for new jobs, we simply looked at our availability, looked at our staffing. If we had any occasions where we had a little bit of space, we'd say to them, look, continue to bring whoever, Emily along, bring them for half a day a week, 1 day a week. We won't charge you. We'll keep that going as long as we can so that they remain settled. It's in your interests. It ties them into you, keeps the child settled at nursery. And then when they do get work, and this has happened, then it's an easy transition. So it's actually not costing you anything if you can do it and you've got a little bit of availability. So I would strongly recommend that. It won't backfire, it hasn't with us for sure. And the other thing is, think about how children at the moment can't be entertained. They can't be taken out to places, they can't socialise. So think about ways you can achieve that, because that then alleviates stress from parents who feel terribly guilty about what's happening for their children. And it also means it's something for them to talk about when they talk to family members, friends over the phone. They can talk about things. So we offer birthday parties for all the children. Parents bring in their own party bags. We quarantine them. They can even pay for a Zoom magician to come along. And we make sure that those children have as much fun as they would have. And they simply don't know that, that what's going on in the world is going on when they're in nursery. We put something, we have Magic Mondays. I have a magician, does a Zoom show on a Monday. And I put a post on Facebook, and one of the parents said her little girl, it's only 3, said, "Mummy, I'm so lucky to go to nursery." Now that parent is going to sell your nursery for you, you know, and we know, because we track how parents come to us, and we know it's by recommendation. So these sort of value, added value things just work so well. Keeping parents involved, because this is, again, has become more difficult. So you have to work at keeping them involved. Use your social media to drive traffic to your website. Also support them. Again, think about what is their stress, be empathetic. Can I like their businesses? Can they like our Facebook page? So you're always thinking, what can we do for them? What can they do for us? Always think that way. Use Google ads as well if you want to, or Facebook ads. They don't need to be expensive. When we first came back after lockdown, one of our sites was down at about 20% occupancy. So we had to work really hard to build back up. We're back at 85% now. So I did do some advertising that cost money, but I set a limit of £10. £10, and that drove traffic through, and it drove traffic to our website. So it doesn't have to be expensive. Let your parents in somehow to your setting. So do Zoom sessions, do video calls with them. We have a once a month chat on FaceTime with parents, talking about their child's development, making sure we know everything. Daily video gets sent to them as well. Share those personal anecdotes, but make technology work for you, because obviously through technology you can boost your brand. Looking at your website is so key. I use Perenta's Platinum scheme. I'm very, very busy. I haven't got time to be doing it myself. I just email or ring Sam and say, "Sam, can you do this? Can you do that?" And it is done, and it's done straight away, and it makes life easy. I simply haven't got time to be doing it, and you know, I'd strongly recommend that. But I do find also that getting the information about how it's working is useful, and seeing it in different formats. What's really clever about the way that that they're doing things is that you get an image of the website format, an image of the tablet format, and an image of the phone format, all alongside each other. So you can really see what your customers are seeing and make sure it's doing the best for you. Let me see. Oh, here we are. Oh, there, because you might be falling asleep now. So I'm going to wake you up. I don't know if you've got sound. If you've got sound, you might see. I just think little bits of video like this are just fantastic to share with parents. He's making a big one of something. But, you know, they can't come in and see this, but build confidence in your brand by sharing these lovely clips as often as you can and as many ways as you can. Obviously, you need to be safe. Claire's talked about GDPR and things. Make sure you found ways of doing that. Okay, so we use SurveyMonkey. We used the free version, didn't cost anything, because communication was so important and we wanted to know if we were doing everything we could. One of the things that came back, which we were surprised about, was that parents said they didn't know who their key person was. Now they get sent an email, they get a photograph, they get daily communication, but they still didn't know enough. So obviously we had to address that. So we addressed it by introducing these monthly personal chats. So sometimes you can feel you're doing everything you can, but that's not the parent's perception. So use something like SurveyMonkey to find out what you could do better. Reward your recommendations, because that builds on what's working. So we give some of the fees. We give a credit note. When a parent recommends us to a new parent, we actually discount their next fees. Use testimonials to your advantage. Make sure they're on your website. Update those testimonials. You'll have had loads in August. I know you will, with all your happy customers. Make sure you take photographs of them, put them in the gallery. You can even get the children as your testimonials by little video clips and find ways of using those. So think out of the box a bit. it's about, to me, marketing is about everybody winning. So your parents, they're happy, their children are happy, they have no worries about them, they know they're in a COVID safe environment, they know that they're getting everything that they need, so they're not missing out. Make sure your team are happy, because if they're happy, then they will convey that. And ultimately, the money will just work for itself, the pounds will come in. And I know we don't like talking about money, but you know, at the end of the day, you've got business to run, you need to bring that money in. So by making yourself so invaluable to them, the money just, you know, the fees, it's just going to come in, the bookings, the places, you're just going to make it work for you. So really, that's what you need to do. Create your win-win culture and your business will thrive. Yeah. So I've probably missed loads out. Oh yeah, another thing we're adding, we're doing next month is we're having a superhero day, and every month we've had a special day because it's about, again, making up for the entertainment that the children are missing out on. So so yeah, we're all turning into superheroes, and they could even be nurses and doctors and things. They don't have to be the traditional ones. And children are having little party bags and doing all sorts. So yeah, just make your provisions so much fun that they can't live without you, and they talk to people about you. You know, it's not just somewhere where the child gets dropped off and they don't know what's going on. They find a way of making it work and talking about it. So thank you everybody for not falling asleep, and hopefully there might be a few questions, so I'll wait for Gail to guide me on those.
Well, it'll be me, but thank you, Deborah.
Oh, is it Alan now? Okay.
Yeah, don't worry. Thank you so much, Deborah. That was absolutely inspirational, and I have to say, it's just delightful to hear how you're supporting those parents who are having a tough time at the moment. We all know people who are struggling, and it's just so wonderful to hear that. But anyway, lots and lots of questions, Deborah. First one is, how easy do you find it to get the buy-in from your team when you're doing things like yoga and Zumba, etc., etc.?
I suppose I find it easy because I have that passion myself. And so I guess, you know, it comes from me. That's all I can say. I think you lead from the top, and I think it's very important to lead from the top. If you don't believe in it, don't do it. If you believe in it, then you'll be able to see it through.
Okay, lovely, thank you. The next question is, you've sort of answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and it's really talking about parent surveys and how you use the information to drive improvement. So you've talked that through, but can you expand any more on other examples where you've had something back from a parent which has meant you've implemented some form of change in the way that you approach the marketing side?
Goodness.
Because I love the story about the key worker, and parents didn't know the key worker. You know, we all think we send out great communication.
Yeah, they don't read things, do they? You all know that. You can send emails out day and night, and they don't read them. So this is the thing. So I think just with that, it's about make things as personal as you can, even though they can't come in and talk to you. Make them as personal as you can. Use the phone. I mean, sort of, you know, we use Messenger, we use Class Dojo. We find ways of engaging, but there's always something you haven't thought of. I think, you know, birthday parties, I suppose, in a way, has come out of talking to parents and at first realizing that they were saying, my child's missing out on things. And that got me thinking, okay, well, they don't need to miss out on anything, do they? Let's make it work in nursery. So you know, it's just listen and respond, I think, however that, you know, that information comes to you.
Brilliant, thank you. Amanda has asked if the yoga and the Zumba can be used, in your opinion, in an after-school club. What's your thoughts on that?
Definitely. I mean, I've trained as both a fitness instructor and a Zumba instructor, and there is, you know, there's a cost to that, obviously. It's well worth it. Children love it. You know, I have children that parents say to me, they love Thursdays because they've got Zumba, and they've got Zumba on Zoom. You know, they're not even doing it directly with me anymore. At the moment, we're doing it on Zoom, but they still absolutely love it. Definitely, I think yoga, we all know how children love to test themselves. You know, I can stretch my arm this high, don't they? They love that. So yoga embraces that natural instinct that they all have to show you what they can do. The scheme that we use is called Yogini, if you want to have a look at it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's the only one out there, I believe, that's been devised with the YFS in mind and is fully approved to use within our industry. So it really gets the children thinking. You know, as I said to you, they have kind words, kind hearts down here, and kind thoughts. And they have this mantra that I think at the moment, children have become more mindful because of the pandemic. And so supporting them with that has really worked. But yeah, both, absolutely, 100% add so much value.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. So Cassie's asking, and this is actually a really great question, but how do you get staff motivated to provide content for your newsletters? We all know that sometimes content for newsletters can be a bit of a chore. So how do you get them engaged with it and get them to come up with the ideas?
I don't. I drive it forward. You know, I have to say, yeah, I will encourage people to give me ideas and ask questions and listen to their ideas. But I feel, for me, I have to drive things forward, and that's my role. You know, I'm at the head of an organisation, and if I can't drive it forward, then who can? So if it's not you personally, then your managers, I would say.
Great. Okay. And then the same a question again from Cassie is she's asking, are the videos of the children recorded on a phone? And then a similar question, but if it are recording on a phone, how do you do that when phones are not allowed in the setting?
Okay, so after God knows how many broken tablets and using child protective cases and things, recently, because every team member has needed to have tablets and they were getting broken at a rate of knots, decided to look at other things we could use. And so have gone down the route of buying some SIM-free phones. So we've got phones, they've got no SIM card in them. They can't be used as phones. They're basically a mini tablet. But it means that they can be handheld or worn on a lanyard and make it really, really easy to communicate quickly wherever a team member goes. So we haven't yet got every person with a SIM-free phone. It's not a phone, as I say, it doesn't operate as a phone. It's just a mini tablet, effectively, that they can use. That is superb. What an excellent idea. I'm sure everyone will run with that one. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, a few more questions then. Ravi's asking, what is a reasonable discount or credit to give for a testimonial? Oh, I don't know. It's whatever you can afford to give. I mean, we gave, in fact, recently, one of my managers said, oh, I've not done it on the fees. I've actually given them cash in an envelope. And I came back home and I told my husband, and he said, do you know what? That's really nice. I then got a message from the parents say, oh, we used it for a curry. So actually, maybe sometimes giving money is better. And I know we don't like handling money because of the pandemic, but giving money may work better for you. And I'd not thought to do that until that point. And then, so I've had to think back. So yeah, I mean, 25, 30 pounds is enough, I think, for most people to feel like, you know, it's not just a giveaway, but it's something that genuinely shows some appreciation. That's brilliant. I agree. I think if you give it to people in cash, I know we all try and avoid cash, as you said, but if it's a discount, it sort of disappears, doesn't it, into the bank account? But if it's cash in hand, it's very, very different, and they can do exactly as you say, go and spend it on themselves that day. So I love that. Question from Sam: how do you manage permissions for photographs? And she's referring to the inevitable response from parents who don't complete the forms on time, or only part complete them, or only some parents complete them. So how do you deal with that, Deborah? Yeah, we have to be very proactive, as you can imagine. But I don't know if many of you are using Abacus software, but actually on Abacus software, there is a permissions report, which is really useful. So we create the permissions report, print that off, so key workers have all got that in front of them and know who can and can't. And, you know, depending on parents' circumstances, there are all sorts of reasons why parents want certain things excluded from use. So I think, yeah, it's hard work, but it's worthwhile. I wouldn't not have photographs and images of children. For that reason, I think we just have to work around it and make sure that we can communicate through imagery wherever parents will allow.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually, completely agree. Okay, question from Gillian. You have already answered this, but I'm going to ask it again because I think you said it quite quickly. But where did your staff do the yoga training? I think you said you had an online system or something where they did the training?
We used a company called Yogini, 2 yoga instructors in Yorkshire that have been doing this for a few years. So if you just look up Yogini on either Facebook or online, you'll see they have support materials. Every month there is ongoing training, and it really is just a well thought out system. I've looked at lots, and because I was in the fitness industry as well, I felt sort of, you know, in a position where I could make the right decision, and it has been for us, definitely.
Okay, so following on from that, Jane's asking if you have to be qualified to teach Zumba or yoga. She's worried about teaching them wrong and potentially the children get hurt.
Well, Zumba, yes, you have to have a license. You have to have a day's training. It can be done virtually. You have to have a combined kids and Zumba license to do Zumba Kids. And then you have to pay for the license to use the music and access all the training. So after your initial cost, which is about £250, it's an annual cost of about, I'd say, it's in dollars, so dollar rate keeps changing, but I would say it's about $300 to $350 a year. So yeah, there's a cost to that, and you have to do it, you know, the way that Zumba say. You cannot do it without using their brand. But it's excellent. Honestly, it's just amazing, the support you get. They also give you Facebook posts, loads for social media websites, loads of things that you can use branding. The Yogini is about a couple of £100, and then £70 a year for the ongoing license. It's all done virtually online again, and it doesn't require any level of fitness. So I think the Zumba, it perhaps does require a degree of fitness, but the yoga doesn't necessarily. I think it's certainly for everybody. Okay,
good, thank you. So Anne's taking us back to the question about money or credits for recommendations, and she's asking, when do you give that money over? Do you do it when they sign up or when they start or after a few months? When do you do that, Deborah?
When the child starts with us as a paying customer. So after the settling in visits and when they first start.
Okay. A question from Gail, not our Gail, another Gail. You mentioned the platinum package. I presume that's something you do with us, but can you explain that at all?
Yeah, well, the platinum package is the all singing and dancing version. That means you just don't have any stress. That's how I say. So I can ring up Sam and say, you know, Sam, fancy changing this. Can we add that? Any amount of times in a month. Sometimes she won't hear from me for a month, and then I get a bit of free time, and I know I can just pick up the phone or send her some images, and it makes life easy. They will also support you with things like your Facebook posts, things like that. Literally, whatever you need, the support is there, and it just takes all that pressure away from me to be technical.
Perfect. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. So the one final question that I've got actually doesn't relate to marketing, but Angiro's asking about contactless machines for collecting fees. Do you use contactless machines for fees, Deb?
No, we don't. We accept, obviously, all the tax payments, government grants, but also we use Perenta's Fee Planner, which is their direct debit system, where we just upload an Excel spreadsheet, send it off to Perenta, and they deal with all the collections, and then it integrates into the software. So it's a very clever little way of speeding up your whole admin. And it's true that there are less parents now that are in a direct debit system for this scheme to work as well as it used to do, but it still means we've got probably, I think we have four A4 sheets of parents whose fees are all paid this way, and just sort of one click of a button, it's all consolidated. So it does make life easy. So we've not needed to go down the card route.
Great, thanks, Deborah. So I'm not going to talk too much about that and take us off the marketing topic, but I just would say to everybody, be very, very careful about taking cards because you're paying typically a 2.5 to 3.5% uplift on that cost. And that can be quite expensive. We're going to send out the book, as I said earlier, to everybody who's asked, and there's quite a large section talking that through and explaining what the real costs of that are. Strongly recommend everybody just checks that bit out because I've seen people pay just crazy money in card fees, and when you think how poorly you're all paid by the state for what you do, it does drive me a bit insane. Anyway, enough preaching. We're going to wrap it up. Deborah, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you joining us and for all the slides and everything. And I have to say, the concept of SIM-free phones is just brilliant. I'm sure most people have been struggling to figure out how to get around this problem for some time. And I think that's such an obvious solution that none of us have seen, if that makes any sense at all. It's such a clever solution. And I think we're really impressed by that. So we're going to wrap up. As I said, thank you so much to our speakers, to Adele James, to Claire Cowie, and to Deborah Barton for joining us today. We really appreciate their time. We have a coffee morning networking event next month, which is just an opportunity for people to join on the call and ask any questions they may want to. There's no set agenda, but we're really happy to answer anything. And as I said, when we opened up, if anybody wants any support on any of the subjects we've talked about today, please reach out to any of the Perenta team. There's no charge whatsoever. We're happy to answer any questions. And as we also said, if someone wants a review of their website, just reach out to Samantha Davey, samantha.davey@perenta.com, and we'll be delighted to undertake a review for you and give you some proper feedback. We'll be sending out a copy of the presentation today, so that will be the video that we've recorded, each of the presenters' slides, and many people have been asking for a copy of the book, and we'll gladly include that. As I said at the beginning, if it was a normal world, we'd send you out a hard copy, but I'm afraid it'll have to be a soft copy for the moment because our offices remain closed. Thank you once again to everybody. Have a great week and stay safe, everybody. Tough times. Let's all stay safe. All the best to you all. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.